Hey there, my fellow sovereigns. Before we dive into the episode today that is all about your decision-making strategy and the consequences and opportunity cost of either not making or making a decision, I wanted to share with you that my 8-week group coaching program, Communication Queens, helping you to profit from podcasting, is opening on May 20th. And why this is relevant to decision making is I have gotten, since our last launch, so many messages of people who wanted to join, but who didn't, who have delayed over months and months of not actually being able to get on the podcast that they want to, because they just delayed. And as you'll learn from today's episode, it is all about making swift, aligned decisions that are in alignment with your future self. So I don't want you to miss out on this opportunity. So if being able to get booked and learning how to profit from guest podcasting, which for me has been so transformative for my business because I don't have to spend hours upon hours doing lead generation or prospecting, because I know that if I just have a few podcasts booked per week, automatically I will have a lead generating and client generating funnel. And it has been a game changer for the past 2 years in my business. And I want it to be such a game changer for you. Our Communication Queens students have started getting booked, profiting from podcasts, and starting their own podcast, all of which I teach you to do in a step-by-step 8 weeks group coaching, diving in, breaking through, and setting you up for success with me in 8 weeks together. So jump on the wait list inside of the description, and then that will allow you to have early access to the Communication Queens program and some special bonuses that are only available for those who jump on our wait list. So get your booty on there, and now enjoy the episode.
Welcome to the Princess and the Bee podcast, the place to be to build your empire as queen of your body, business, and life. I'm your host, Kimberly Spencer, founder of CrownYourself.com, and I'm an award-winning coach, Amazon best-selling author, and multi-passionate entrepreneur. Each week, I give you the systems, strategies, and success stories to help you master your mindset, communicate with ease, and triple your productivity so you make the income and the impact you deserve. Imagine this podcast as your weekly spark of inspiration as you take it to the next level with all the B's of your life: body, business, bank account, boys, and babies. Let's make it rain.
Hello, my fellow sovereigns, and welcome back to another episode of The Princess and the Bee. I am so honored to be here with you today. As always, let's take a hot dose of gratitude to thank ourselves for choosing content that uplifts, inspires, champions, and challenges us to grow into becoming the queen bees of our lives. The title of this podcast, warning, side effects happen, has nothing to do with side effects of any medication or anything like that. It's total clickbait. I'm being honest and upfront with that. I wanted to entitle this Side Effects and Warning because we were dealing yesterday, all of us had this 24-hour weird flu thing where we were just profusely vomiting, and Decky wasn't feeling well, and Colton and I had it first, and then 2 days later, Spike and Declan had it, and Declan was coming off, and it literally was there and gone within 24 hours. And after Declan had his bout of feeling sick and having that time and all the attention that it gets, the day proceeded to have Declan make some pretty poor choices, doing things that he knew he shouldn't do, and it got into a deep conversation with a 4-year-old, he and I, because it was riding on my nerves. I will be honest with you about that. About consequences, about cause and effect. And so that is why I was inspired to really lean into this concept, because one of our primary values at Crown Yourself is ownership, period. It is owning everything. And it is also owning that you are at cause for your life. You are not the effect. Life is happening for you, not to you. These are our core principles that we believe in, that I live by. And cause and effect is actually a law. Like, it is a universal, not like a law like in America, but it is a universal law of cause and effect. Everything is cause and effect. One of my favorite quotes is by Emerson, and he says that shallow men believe in luck. Strong men believe in cause and effect, and just add women in there because, it was written in the turn of the century. So cause and effect, what is cause and effect? Cause and effect means that there is a cause and that side effects happen, period. The side effect does not have to be negative. The side effect can be positive. The side effect for improving your communication in your relationship can be incredibly liberating. You can feel heard and seen and valued and respected by your partner when you change the cause of relational struggles, which may be your communication. The cause of, money struggles can create side effects of distress, of frustration. The cause, when you choose to be at cause and change your money story and change what's showing up in your world and start manifesting big things. Like, I remember when I manifested my first $15,000 client, and I just got this like PayPal notice of, oh my gosh, someone just paid me $15,000. Like, I laid it on the table and I was like, this is what my pricing is. And I ran downstairs to show it was spiking, and I just was so proud of myself. And the side effect was, he was like, damn girl, good job. So the side effect was great, but every decision has a side effect. Every cause has an effect. Every decision you make has a consequence. Consequences don't necessarily mean negative, but they do exist. And it is from that space of the effect that you then make the next best decision. So what do you do when side effects show up in your reality? You look at what is the decision that needs to be made next. So what are the consequences of the decision? What are the possible, probable consequences of whatever decision it is that you are choosing to make? So a lot of people delay on making the decision. Let's say you want to go to the next level of income. I know when I wanted to move from 5 figures to 6 figures a year, that decision, and it was a decision first, I weighed that decision against what it would show up as I was raising Declan, like what that would require of me. And yes, with every decision, sometimes there are those stories that cause us to delay on making that decision. They cause us to doubt that decision, that cause us to think, oh, maybe, if this is, we have those stories of this may take me away from my child, or I may have to sacrifice this, or I may have that fear of loss, or it's going to be so hard, and those are the stories. Those are not the side effects. So those are the stories that happen before we actually make the decision. So that is still not living in the realm of cause and effect. That is living in the space of being at the effect of delaying, of choosing, causing the cause of choosing to delay on making that decision, versus making the decision and then figuring out the how from the present moment. Every moment we are faced with being able to make a decision. Every moment, including the decision to not make a decision, is still a decision because you are choosing, consciously or unconsciously, to make or not make a decision. And that therein leads to cause and effect and side effects. The decision to not make a decision, whether it's unconscious or conscious, also creates a side effects, which typically, in what I've seen from having coached high achieving leaders for the past 5 years, is that when you choose to delay on making a decision, unconsciously, when it is just like, oh, I'll do that later. Oh, I'll do that tomorrow. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to do that. I don't know if I'm going to go to six figures, or I want to go to six figures, or I'm trying to, or doing this. And it's not actually deciding, making the decision, and then moving forward as if on the frequency. When you are in that space of not actually making the decision to go after what it is that you do say that you want, that is what creates the overwhelm. That is what creates doubt. Delay creates doubt. Delaying on making a decision. That is why even if you are choosing, even if you consciously choose, like I am consciously choosing that this is not the year to do X, Y, and Z, then that is a conscious choice to say, okay, at least you're bringing it into the conscious realm, the active realm of cause and effect, instead of being at the mercy of delaying on being on the effect side of the equation, on being at the effect of the cause of not really making that decision, of saying you want something but not, of hoping, trying, wishing, wanting, but then there's all these stories, and not clearly deciding that this is a hell yes or a hell no. So indecision, it still is a decision. My point to stress is that if you are in a space of overwhelm, frustration, delay, and doubt, then at the very least, make a decision to not make a decision. Let me explain. So if you're in the space of overwhelm and doubt, and it is coming from the indecision of you don't know which way to go, you're not sure of the how, you are not sure what to do next, and all of those questions that come up with, the fear of actually deciding and then figuring it out, then let your subconscious mind know that you are deciding to not make a decision. You're deciding to delay on fixing it, because at least that puts you in the driver's seat for being at cause, for choosing consciously to not make the decision yet at this moment. I learned this strategy when I was in NLP training, and it was about 3 days in. It was before we were diving into timeline therapy, and I was having all sorts of emotions come up. Mind you, I was also newly pregnant. I was like 2 or 3 months in, not even out of my first trimester. And I was having all sorts of feelings come up. This was an intense training. We started at 9, we went until 10, maybe sometimes 11 o'clock at night. And it was amazing. It was so fun, but it was intense. And I was having all of these emotions and feelings and learnings and new neural pathways being created. And that, plus being pregnant, was a lot. And I was feeling all these feelings coming up. And my coach told me, he said, "Oh, you're feeling frustration come up." And I said, "Yeah, I'm really frustrated. And I'm feeling all this sadness and, all of these feelings." And he said, "Let your subconscious mind know that we will process these on Thursday." And I was like, "What?" He said, "Let your subconscious mind know that we will process these on Thursday when we learn timeline therapy." And it took me aback for a second, but now seeing what he taught me in that moment is, instead of being tossed about at the effect of not knowing how, not knowing what to do, being at the effect of not being a cause for not knowing what decision I needed to make about how to process my sadness and feelings that were coming up, he gave me the space to say, you will be making the decisions to process these emotions on Thursday, in essence. And so let your subconscious mind know that it's going to be processing those on Thursday, so it closes the loop. And what I mean by closes the loop is, if you think of a necklace and a chain necklace. Like, I have a little Tiffany's horseshoe necklace that I love wearing. I was wearing it when I met Spiky, and it has little chain link loops, really, really fine loops, but each one is a fine loop. The necklace would not hold together if those loops were not connected. And because those loops are connected, that's what allows the necklace to stay in place and stay connected. So if you have a lot of open loops, if you have a lot of decisions that you're delaying on, then it creates almost like this all the open tabs in your browser, if you're like me and you leave a lot of open tabs on your browser as you're working through things, it causes the computer to run slower. And thus it can create the frustration of having that spinning pinwheel of death. So the rainbow pinwheel of it just, delaying on making that decision. It's the computer is literally delaying on making the decision because it has too many open tabs open. It has too many open loops. Just like a chain on a necklace will not stay together if each of the chains are not completely closed. It may stay together if some are a little open, but not if like a ton of them are open. It will just fall apart. So you being able to consciously close the loop and say, I will be making this decision on Thursday, and then making that decision to process it on Thursday, making that decision to say, I'm choosing to make this decision now. I'm choosing to make this decision tomorrow. I'm choosing to make this decision in a month from now. Those decisions, by making the decision to not make the decision, it puts you back in the driver's seat to close the loop so that your brain, your subconscious mind knows, okay, you're going to make that decision, but it's not going to be today. And so it allows you to have greater space, greater connectivity to make whatever it is decision, that is not a complete sentence, whatever decision you need to make in the moment right now. So maybe that decision to move to another state is not the decision you need to make right now in this moment. Maybe that decision is a decision that you will make or reassess in 6 months from now. And so if that's something that you and your partner have been discussing of like you want to move, or you want to move your business to a different state, or you want to move to a different country, then maybe that making that decision is not a decision that needs to be made right now. And you can say, we can reassess this decision. We can table this for 6 months from now. The same is true with decisions in your business of like deciding that you're going to go from 5 figures to 6 figures. If you are in a space where there is a lot of like personal stuff going on, some family stuff, you're processing a lot of things emotionally, then maybe that now is not the time to make that decision to go to 6 figures or 7 figures. Maybe now is the time to make the decision that, I'm going to reassess this in 3 months from now, but I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to make this decision right now, because right now what's needed is for me to be there for my family member who needs me, or for me to support my husband, or for me to be there in that space. So looking at tabling, what decisions do you need to table? Because by tabling the decision, it allows you to have the side effect of greater clarity for whatever actual decision needs to be made in the present moment. So maybe you're deciding on which way to go in your business. So I'll give you a personal example. When we first decided to launch The Princess and the Bee back in 2019, I had that idea for 2 years. Yes, I sat on that idea. Yes, I had some imposter syndrome around the title. Yes, I had some doubts and fears and whatnot that come along with making a decision. But I decided back in 2017 to not do it. And I decided to close the loop on creating a podcast because I knew that financially my business wasn't in the place to support the production of producing a podcast, producing it consistently, producing it and having the team to edit, to market, to do all the things that we do that I talk about in Communication Queens, to spread the podcast, to get it out there to all the places. And I decided that it was not the time. Now, that decision, I said I'd revisit it maybe in 6 months from now. 6 months from then, I was back in 2017. I was still facing the doubt. I was making more income, but not to the point where I wanted to be able to lean into still making that decision. I still wasn't sure. I still was having those doubts. So I said, okay, I'm going to table this decision for another 6 months from now. And so I kept tabling and looking and checking in, is this the right time? And then 2019 hit, and I was a part of a podcast mastermind, and I was the only one without a podcast. And I was like, this is ridiculous. So I immediately had the incentive to ditch the imposter syndrome, because I was more of an imposter being a part of a podcast mastermind without having a podcast. So I decided to launch the podcast. And that was when I shifted into making that decision, because also my business was in a very different space financially where I would be able to support that decision. So I delayed on making the decision, but I also closed the loop every time. So I didn't stay in that space of productive procrastination, overwhelm, and frustration, trying to decide on figuring out whether, do you notice that the complexity of that language and how long that is? Like, wow, when you are implicit and indecisive on what it is that you want or need to create or to decide on, the side effects are that it takes a freaking long time versus the decision. When you actually truly make a decision, things start speeding up fast. And right now you may be noticing in the universe that as you make decision after decision and you're clear and decisive about what you're choosing into, the effects take a lot less time to get there. The side effects, the positive side effects, take a lot less time to get there. They will show up faster the quicker that you can decide, even if that's deciding not to decide. So leaning into what is the decision that you need to make now, today, and what are the decisions that you need to grow into that maybe need some time to percolate, but you at least need to close the loop that these are things that you're going to decide on not deciding now. And then what could those side effects be? I mean, the side effects of choosing, let's say, for example, you want to launch a podcast, of choosing to delay, the side effects could be, if you launch a podcast, you're going to, there may be, probably will be, given the trend of podcasting, there may be more people podcasting, so you're going to still be a small fish in a big pond. And so the pond's just going to get bigger, you're still going to be a small fish when you first launch. But if you think of, okay, well, that's a decision that I can table until I build my list or I build my customer base. And then I have a list of people who will actually be paying, or not paying unless it's a subscription-based podcast, but people who will be wanting to listen to my podcast because I will have a larger community by then. So that allows you that space to say, okay, maybe now is not the time to launch that. Maybe I focus on selling something high ticket, doing bigger events, creating a pricier course, doing a mastermind, doing something that's a higher ticket product or service, so that then when I launch my podcast, I can have the finances, I'll have the community built up, I'll have some people, and I'll be able to invest in what it is that I'm creating rather than starting the podcast now. So looking at what will the side effects be if you delay on making that decision now? And what will the side effects be if you choose to make that decision now? Every decision has side effects. Every decision has an effect. Every cause has an effect. It is a universal law. So lean into your power to choose to make the decisions, to be at cause and to continuously cause to enact greater and greater effects so that you get the effects or the results that you desire to manifest in your reality. Let me know if you love this episode, how it served, and if this is helping you make better, stronger, faster, more aligned decisions. As always, own your throne. Mind your business, because your reign is now.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. If what you heard resonated with you, be sure to subscribe and share your breakthroughs and ahas with me by leaving a review on iTunes so I can keep the magic flowing your way. And if you aren't already following us on social media, come experience the extra inspiration and queenly convos on Instagram at Crown Yourself Now, or visit our website at crownyourself.com. I am so excited to connect with you in the next episode. And in the meantime, go out there and create a body, business, and life that rules.